Good afternoon and welcome to today's Way Forward Workshop, Leader Lunch Break, where we are thrilled to host Meghann Marnecheck. Meghann has served Cleveland students and families for almost 5 years as the Executive Director of the Cleveland Transformation Alliance. She awakens every day committed to working to ensure that every student in Cleveland is in a high-quality, equitable educational environment. She is charged with delivering on the Cleveland plan and communicating with families about their options for educating children. When announcing her appointment, Mayor Frank Jackson stated, "The executive director of the Cleveland Transformation Alliance is an important role that will affect generations to come. It is our duty to entrust this invaluable task of helping shape the city of Cleveland's educational future with someone worthy and qualified. Meghann Marnecheck has the experience it will take to lead the Cleveland Transformation Alliance. This current role and all its weighty responsibilities is the highlight of a career in serving Ohio's families. She worked as a policy advocate at the Ohio State House, as chief of staff for the city of Parma, and as assistant director of development at Cuyahoga County Public Library. She is a mentor through College Now and a proud member of the Leadership Cleveland class of 2023. Welcome, Meghann.
Thank you so much, Marianne, and thank you to Rachel. It's truly an honor to be here as your leader lunch break today. And I'll admit I'm still trying to live up to those big words from Mayor Jackson. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about the Transformation Alliance, the Cleveland Plan, and hopefully share a little bit about how all of you can be involved in this incredibly important process for our community. It's an important endeavor to ensure that the students and children of Cleveland are getting the highest quality and most equitable education possible. So it's lovely to see so many friends here today as well. But my name again is Meghann Marnecheck. I'm the Executive Director of the Cleveland Transformation Alliance. You heard a little bit about my background. So we will jump into today's agenda, which is really to, as I said, learn about the Cleveland Plan, get an understanding of the Transformation Alliance, understand even more about the public education landscape in Cleveland, how to show support for our schools and educators, and ways to get involved. And first, I want to take a moment just for you all to reflect about your own school story. What is your personal experience? Did you grow up in Cleveland? What type of school did you attend? Was it a public school, a private school, or maybe a charter school? Who decided where you went for your education? Did you have options, or was it decided for you because of where you lived, the community where you were in? Were there schools based off of boundaries, neighborhoods? And what's your favorite school memory? My guess is it's probably not math class or maybe literature class, but probably an experience you had, an extracurricular, a coach, an experience you had in drama club or something like that, a school dance. These are all things that really make a school community, make a school environment, and that's what the Transformation Alliance is here to help families navigate through for the city of Cleveland. So as you may know, Cleveland operates a portfolio model, which is potentially different than what all of you experienced. A student can attend whatever school they would like and that best fits their academic needs, regardless of their neighborhood. So they don't have to attend that neighborhood school. And you can see here, these were the original 4 goals of the Cleveland Plan. Grow the number of high-performing district and charter schools, focus the district's central office on key support and governance roles, create the Transformation Alliance, and invest in high-leverage system reforms across all schools from preschool to college and career. And within that frame of the Cleveland Plan, there was a big why for the Transformation Alliance. We were created to ensure that the goals of the Cleveland Plan were being fulfilled and to ensure fidelity to the Cleveland Plan, direct families to resources and tools developed by the Transformation Alliance so that they could choose that best fit school for their child. And through that, we assess the quality of district and charter schools in Cleveland, and we monitor the charter sector growth. So those were our original 4 goals. As you may know, the Transformation Alliance and the Cleveland Plan was created in 2012. So I'm going to take you through a bit of a timeline over the past 10 years of the Cleveland Plan and how we got to where we are today. So July of 2012, then Governor Kasich signed legislation that created the Cleveland Plan, approved it as House Bill 525, and really created a domino effect for our community. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. In November of 2012, voters approved the first levy in operating support levy in 16 years from that time, and it was the largest in the city's history. And for the first time, I think it's fairly momentous to note that a share of those operating dollars were set aside for high-performing charter schools that were formally partnered with or sponsored by CMSD, creating this real network of schools, a collaboration of schools, if you will, for the city of Cleveland. And then, of course, in December of that year, the Transformation Alliance was officially established. We jump ahead to May of 2013. The Cleveland Teachers Union approved a new contract that formalized the changes from state law and provided additional flexibility at the school level. Key elements included changing the teacher compensation system, reducing the weight of seniority and layoff decisions, and providing schools with more autonomy, including a say in hiring and the length of the school day. It became known as the Fix Without a Fight. In spring of 2014, the Alliance created its first school quality guide, which is a publication we try to put out annually for families to look through, flip through, see their school options, learn about the schools in their neighborhood and beyond, and be able to compare them side by side, not only in a school quality guide that's printed, but also in a digital tool that we provide on our website. November of 2014, voters pass a capital bond to support CMSD's Facilities Master's Plan. And then we fast forward again to January of 2019. Cleveland officially becomes the fourth Say Yes to Education chapter in the nation. As you may know, Say Yes provides tuition scholarships to CMSD graduates and is intended to support students for the next 20 years. You can draw a straight line between the passage of the Cleveland Plan and where we are today with Say Yes being part of our community. In November of 2020, CMSD was able to renew the original levy passed in 2012 and added 5 mills. Then recently, in September of 2021, the Cleveland Transformation Alliance took a pause to refresh the Cleveland Plan, really thinking about the next 10 years and where we want to be, what achievements had we made, what do we still need to work on, where hadn't we hit the mark, and we refreshed that Cleveland Plan and released it to the community in September of 2021. So where are we now? We have experienced our first major leadership transitions that were the core to the creation of the Cleveland Plan. Mayor Bibb has recognized the Cleveland Plan as the right path for our community and has publicly stated that his administration will double down on the Cleveland Plan. We've established organizations like GCCC and PACE, where we are focusing on helping students find a pathway to career and helping to guide the student toward whatever post-secondary education they may need to achieve that goal. And most recently, we all know that former CMSD CEO Eric Gordon announced that he would not seek a contract renewal, and we now have started a school year with a brand new CEO in Dr. Warren Morgan. So we have this amazing opportunity to engage and reconnect with new leadership and new energy around CMSD schools, our charter schools, and the Cleveland Plan. So I talked momentarily about our refresh of the Cleveland Plan, and I would be remiss if I didn't drill in a little bit on what that looked like. We worked to create a house structure in the process of creating our refreshed Cleveland Plan with quality education as our foundation. It is our roof and our aspirational goal at the top. All Cleveland public education students have high quality, equitable education in schools that inspire joy and learning is supported by 5 pillars. You saw the original Cleveland Plan had 4. We added a 5th, which you can see is embed organizational and educational equity principles and activities that are replicable and measurable for all public district and public charter schools in the city. A real focus on it in ensuring that each individual child is receiving the education and support they need to succeed. So I want to take a moment for those that are maybe unfamiliar with the district and the educational landscape to talk about CMSD. The district itself covers 82 square miles, and some may be surprised to know that CMSD also serves students in Lindale, Newburgh Heights, and parts of Brook Park and Garfield Heights. There's 99 schools, you can see the breakdown there, and per pupil spending is about $14,355. The red dot on this dot graph is where CMSD lands in terms of outcomes versus per pupil spending. So you can see we're not where we want to be, but it is important to note that we have made significant strides in graduation rate and other outcomes from where we were in 2012 when the Cleveland Plan was first established. We went from about a 52% graduation rate in 2012 to over 80% pre-pandemic. We have a lot to be proud of. We have a lot to build on, but certainly this graph is showing we can't be satisfied with where we are today, and we have more to do as a community. Our charter schools, we have 49 public elementary charter schools on 46 campuses and an additional 10 charter high schools, most of those being dropout prevention and credit recovery schools. And 16 of those schools, although I believe it's changed going into this school year, formally partner with CMSD. All of this data will be updated later this month with a release of new state report card data. But you can see there's about 50,000 students in public education in Cleveland. About 35,000 of them are students enrolled in CMSD, and then a subset, about 15,000, are enrolled in our area charter schools. So what about the Cleveland Transformation Alliance? How do we fit into this mix? So the educational curriculum, you can think about the organizations doing great work in our community. At the preschool level, we have Starting Point and Pre for CLE. We are the organization focused on supporting families through their K to 12 journey. And then so many fantastic organizations helping to transition those students then on to higher education, like the Higher Education Compact, Say Yes Cleveland, College Now, and certainly GCCC and PACE. So our mission, which we also refreshed with the updated Cleveland Plan, is to focus on giving families and students the information they need to find their best fit public school. The Alliance is a trusted community partner working to ensure that every student has the opportunity to receive a quality, equitable education. And our hope is to have a thriving community where every child is flourishing in their best fit school. We're focused on equity being research-based, transparent, and collaborative. And that is really where we need all of you. We need your collaboration. We need your support to help engage and help families be aware of all of their school choices, their public school choices in Cleveland, and help to ensure that families are exercising those choices and being heard in their school community to make certain that our schools individually are responsive to the needs of the families that they serve. You can see our mission, vision, and goals are reflected in our 5 strategic directions that came out of a refreshed strategic plan that followed the Cleveland Plan refresh as well for our organization. We're here to be a convener, a collaborator. We want to work with you and your organizations, and not the least of which is through an ambassador program where we work to support families through partnership with other organizations that are family facing, supportive of families in various ways, whether that's helping to support with nutrition or housing stability or any other service provided to Cleveland families. We want to partner with you. We want to understand better your work so that our organization can direct families that might benefit from your services and vice versa. Let us train you on how to use the Cleveland Transformation Alliance's tools, our School Finder tool on our website, our school quality guide. We'll work with you so you know how to use our tools and create that collaboration, because truly it takes an entire community to support this education system. As you can see here, the Cleveland Plan is at the core, but we need every sector of our community, businesses, nonprofits, philanthropic partners, certainly parents and families, to engage with us around the Cleveland Plan to ensure that every student is getting that equitable education we've talked about. So where do you see yourself fit? How can you help engage or support a student today or tomorrow or into the future? That's our call to you, because we know to succeed, it's going to take more support than what can just happen in our classroom to ensure that our kiddos are getting the services, support, and education they deserve to be able to move forward and have really fruitful and fulfilling careers and future lives. So with that, I'm going to pause. I know I threw a lot at you, but I'm excited to hear a little bit about what questions folks have for me, and I will do my best to answer them.
Great, Megan, thank you so much. We'll jump in and start with what is often the most frequent question or concern you hear from families when they are starting to look at which school fits them best?
You know, our community really has a high population of students with special needs, and I think that that is a place where many of our families start. They may have a child with an IEP or a 504 plan, or they believe their child may need one of those to plans for their educational career, and they want to know where best they will, where it will be best for their children to receive services. So I think that's probably our most common conversation, is working with CMSD and their enrollment offices to make certain that the services that that child needs, certainly in public education, we know that a child should be served wherever they go. But I think families know that maybe one school or one teacher is really that person that they want to connect to and have a longstanding relationship with. So a lot of our conversations end up being really listening to and hearing families talk about their concerns for children with special needs and helping to match them with that best fit school to the best of our ability.
Building on particular needs of students and families, is there any part of the program or what resources might be available to support Cleveland area students that may be undocumented immigrants?
That's a really great question. Again, our public education system, we are going to help support any child that should be engaged in education. And I think we're really lucky here in Cleveland to have a school dedicated to immigrant and newcomer families, and to help with that transition to Cleveland and to the American education system. We have great resources like Global Cleveland, Us Together, and other organizations that are really here to support families as they transition to new Americans. We also have a multilingual, multicultural office at CMSD that is there to be a transition point and an office focused on supporting families as they are coming into our school system. So we have great supports. I think we can always do better. Families have to, in some ways, be brave enough to inform the school district of their status or maybe language barriers, because the district, and really any school, doesn't necessarily know when that happens if they're not informed. So it's really incumbent upon us to help support those families and encourage them to engage with the school, which can be a barrier in and of itself. But that's one way that we can be helpful, to know that these resources are available and to help guide families to find those resources and make those introductions, something the Transformation Alliance takes seriously.
Again, we know coming out of the pandemic, there's been a lot of impact on education and schools and students. Now, how has your work changed as a result of the pandemic, and how might you support families and students who are dealing with the long-lasting impacts of that experience?
Yeah, I think we're all still trying to figure that out in a lot of ways, and it's a constant ongoing navigation for families as they're looking for additional resources, tutoring, out of school time supports to help make up that lost learning time. um, we know that students didn't lose learning or the ability to learn, but they did lose time. So it's important to try to double down our efforts and make up that time. And I think that's one way that our work has really changed. It's been helping to be provide those resources to families, know what is out in the community, which again is always a constant learning curve for us, to know what services are available, who's providing support, and helping to direct families to those resources. I think the ACE funds provided by the state of Ohio is a great opportunity to maximize that and to offset cost for families. But again, not enough people know about the ACE funds, and we can talk about ACE in a separate conversation, but there are dollars available, scholarship dollars, to provide support for those resources, but it's making those connections. And there's so many great organizations doing great work in Cleveland. If we have a wealth of resources, but not always a wealth of knowledge of those resources. So that's a divide we're trying to cross.
Speaking of funding, what is the funding model for the Cleveland Transformation Alliance?
That's a great question, and thank you to whoever asked that question. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we are fully funded by philanthropy. We are an independent organization. We have a 32-member board made up of pretty much every educational representation you can think of on our board, which is amazing. It makes for fantastic conversation and a great collaboration amongst the education community. But we are always seeking additional dollars for our support, which takes up a lot of time as we continue to tell our story. So we are philanthropically funded mainly through area foundations. We do not receive funds from the school district, from charter schools, or from the city of Cleveland, although by statute, the mayor of Cleveland is our board chair.
A very concerning topic around the community, obviously, is around public safety. And how are you working with programs to make sure that students are getting to and from school safely, that environment is safe?
That's a great question. So CMSD is now offering busing for 6th and 7th graders, which I think is a help due to increases in funding that they were able to secure that additional busing. That's a big safety concern for families. But busing only goes so far, and it's hard to exercise your school choice if your school choice is too far to receive yellow bus, unless you're attending particular magnet schools that provide busing regardless of where you live. So it continues to be a dilemma, and that is probably outside of special needs. That's probably the number 2 top conversation we have with families, is really thinking about how is your student going to get to and from school. Are you reliant wholly on one individual and the car? Are you reliant on family, friends? Where does that fall into what schools make sense for your family? And I don't have a good solution for it. It's absolutely something we continue to talk about. And I think it's something that our community needs to address. And it will be interesting to see what Dr. Morgan, if anything, he thinks about in terms of his tenure as CEO, if there will be changes in transportation or how to address transportation. Obviously, RTA is a great partner in this. RTA provides bus vouchers for all of our students, high school students, and those not receiving yellow bus transportation. But it continues to be of concern, and especially knowing that we did some research over the last year and a half that reflected students, for the most part, and families and educators themselves feel comfortable and confident when they're in their school buildings. It's what's happening outside the buildings that raises concern. So we as a community need to really look at and address that safety concern outside of the building. It doesn't do us any good if you're scared to get to school, even if you feel comfortable once you're there.
Meghann, as you reflect back over the past 10 to 12 years of implementing the Cleveland plan, where have you had kind of those big challenges, and where have you seen the successes?
Yeah, so I think some of our biggest challenges is that we're talking about humans, we're talking about students, we're talking about children. We're not talking about widgets. And so trying to implement new services, new teaching methods, new concepts can be difficult, and it takes a while. So I think the things that have been most frustrating throughout the process is just the time it takes for change to happen. And that's true not only of us as those working in this space, but certainly families and our Cleveland community wants to see change more quickly. And that can be difficult and a frustration. But I think the greatest gains and the greatest successes are seeing that difference in graduation rate, as an example, to go from 52% to over 80% and to close the gap between the state average and CMSD, and to know that our district is one of the fastest improving districts in the state of Ohio. These are all things to be incredibly proud of, and it's a credit to the educators and the students who are doing that work every day. There is a student and there are numerous teachers and staff who support those educators every day, helping to make that happen. And I think we need to give them all the credit in the world for doing that on a daily basis. It is not an easy job. And we know that many of our students are coming to the table not always ready to learn as soon as they walk through the door. So we have work to do as a community to address those issues that are creating barriers to education so that we can see those faster gains. It's again, we're not going to, I don't believe, we will continue to see the same rate of gain educationally for our community until we begin to address those barriers to education that happen outside of the classroom.
For organizations or programs that have an interest in partnering with you or working with CMSD, what's the best way to go about having those conversations around collaboration?
Yes, please reach out. You can contact us through our website. If you scan the QR code that's up on the screen at the moment, that'll take you to our website. You'll be able to learn more about us, our ambassador program. Feel free to email me or my colleague who's joining us today, Khadijah Fair, who is my amazing right hand in this work. I couldn't do it without her. And she really manages and engages our ambassador program. We will work with you to figure out what makes the most sense and what we promote for your organization and vice versa. We'll take you through a training, which you can also do on our website on your own time, and encourage family members, people that you know that are passionate about this work to reach out to us, or just to go through that training on our website to better use our tools. Our goal here is that families are making informed school choices for the betterment of their children and making those informed choices. So hopefully we can stick with them and continue out our educational career until that next logical transition point, whether that's onto high school or onto some kind of post-secondary. We're here to help. We're here to make those connections. And, you know, we just want to collaborate with as many people as possible. So the more the merrier. Reach out.
And as you look ahead, what do you see as the greatest need for the Transformation Alliance, and how can we support you in overcoming those needs?
Amazing question. Thank you for that. You know, our biggest need is capacity. We have a really big mission, and we also have a constantly revolving group of consumers. So we are always gaining families as they enter kindergarten or education, that enter the education space, and we're always losing families as individuals graduate and move on from their high school experience. We are constantly in a mode of informing families in our community that we exist. So helping to spread that word, helping to raise our capacity through that ambassador program, and certainly financially, if you're interested, to help us to have the resources. We're a very small team. It is myself, Khadijah, and a handful of part-time navigators that are really invested in this work. We do a lot with that small team. But we could do so much more with greater capacity. So really, it's help us to grow that capacity in whatever way you can.
Meghann, thank you for that call to action, and thank you for the mighty work that your mighty small team does. It's